good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from Manisa Bata Desawe Kanda. Also live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. This evening, Chief Justice Getro Tukono requests to have copies of the petition seeking her removal from office. Meanwhile, another citizen after the MPP MP Vincent Assefuwa has also sued over procedure to remove the Chief Justice. This evening, we'll delve deeper into all the latest development. There's been two suits now against the removal of the Chief Justice, and also the Chief Justice now requesting to have copies of the petition seeking her removal. So stay with us here on Hot Edition. We've got details for you, plus a legal understanding of how things are playing out. Also, 40 of the missing ECG containers have been found at a warehouse owned by an Indian national. That's according to the Energy Minister, John Jinapor. We've got details for you here on Hot Edition. Plus, government sets up a committee to abolish the double track system. We'll engage the experts on the possibility of scrapping the system and the impact going forward. Also, we're monitoring how issues are playing out in the arena of crime. We're committed to resolving high-profile murder cases. That's according to President John Dramani Mahama. Stay with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also, with the NPP, Kennedy Ohene Ejapong arrived in Ghana to a rousing welcome, and he says he'll continue to fight and defend the truth. But what is at play right now? Stay with us. We have a conversation on that, plus the latest in business and sports over the next 1 hour, 30 minutes here on Hot Edition. For now, let's settle for a summary of the news, and Christabel Trevor is here.
Thank you, Alfred. And in today's summary, the Energy Minister, John Jinapor, has issued a strong warning that the government will ensure the full prosecution of those responsible for the disappearance of over 1,300 containers belonging to the ECG. He emphasized that the state will not tolerate any interference or claims of political witch hunting as it seeks to recover the stolen assets. The minister confirmed that national security operatives have retrieved 40 of the missing containers at a terminal in Bong, which is linked to an Indian national. And the suspect, who has been arrested, claims the containers were sold to him last year. Now, meanwhile, 40 former public sector employees have filed a lawsuit against the government of Ghana, challenging their dismissals as unconstitutional and politically motivated. The group, represented by Dami and Partners, a law firm linked to the former Attorney General Godfred Yeboah Dami, contends that their terminations violated due process and Article 191, Section B of the Constitution, which protects public servants from arbitrary dismissal. Also, the National Health Insurance Authority has reiterated the comment to ensure service providers' claims are paid on time to ensure the effectiveness of the scheme. The head of corporate communication at the NHIS, Fosina Derry, who was speaking in an interview when the authority paid a courtesy call at Media General, said, with the uncapping of the scheme, service providers will be paid on time to ensure the smooth running of the scheme. And finally, on the education front, the Ministry of Education is to convert some schools in the rural areas into boarding houses. This, according to the ministry, is to reverse the double track system where some 150,000 students have been affected. The sector minister, Haruna Idrisu, was addressing the media where he inaugurated a committee to consider the reversing of the double track system.
Christopher, thank you very much. More news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition. We're live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Share your thoughts and views, comments with us as always. And we've been monitoring how issues are playing out right now here on Hot Edition. But before we get into the matters of law, President John Mahama has reaffirmed his commitment to resolving high-profile, unresolved murder cases, including the killing of investigative journalist Ahmed Swale and former Member of Parliament J.B. Dankwa Edu. Speaking after a visit from the Ghana Bar Association, GBA, the president revealed that he has directed state investigative bodies to take a more active approach in addressing these cases to ensure justice is served. He announced that this renewed effort has already led to a suspect being arrested in the Ahmed Swale case. The president also called for an expedited prosecution process in the JB Dankwa Edu murder case, while pushing for further investigation to determine if additional suspects were involved.
We are committed to the protection of human rights and investigation of significant killings, murders that have remained uninvestigated. And so I've urged the police and the investigative organizations to look more actively in cases like Ahmed Swale, and that is how come a first suspect has been arrested. We are hoping that his interrogation will lead to further arrests of people. There are several other cases like the JB Dankwa murder case. We are asking that it be expedited in terms of the prosecution that is taking place and for investigations to be carried out to find out if any other persons were involved in some of those. Those are ongoing.
As the President, John Dramani Mahama there. And it's live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Now, we were here on Tuesday, got notice of the 3 petitions against the Chief Justice for her removal, as was announced by the spokesperson to President John Dramani Mahama, and also the Minister of State in charge of Government Communications, Felix Kwatiofosu, who signed that statement. Today, a number of things have happened. First, we had the immediate past Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, filed a lawsuit on behalf of his client, Vincent Ekosifwa, Member of Parliament for Old Tafo, against the Attorney General at the Supreme Court, challenging the procedural legality of President Mahama's actions concerning the potential removal of the Chief Justice. Vincent Asifwa, acting as a concerned citizen under Article 21B of the 1992 Constitution, sought several declarations from the Supreme Court, whose original jurisdiction he is invoking, regarding the interpretation of constitutional provisions governing the removal of the Chief Justice. Getting to the details of the reliefs of Vincent Asifwa, but we've just also got notice of another suit challenging the legality of the procedure of the president and the actions for the potential removal of the Chief Justice. Getting to the second suit and the details in a bit. But right even before we could get into the studio earlier today, a few minutes ago, we got a notice as well from the Chief Justice, Gertrude Sakito Kono herself, requesting copies of petitions submitted to President Mahama seeking her removal from office. Dennis Pabere, Wadam Esquire, is with our political and legal desk, is head of research there, is joining us right now. It's good to have you. Dennis, first of all, let's start from how the day started with this. Vincent Asifwa, challenging the legality of the process. What exactly are the reliefs that he's seeking? And let us understand what this suit is all about.
Well, so flowing from the happening on Tuesday, that is the presidency issuing a statement to the effect that some 3 petitions had been forwarded to the Council of State to begin a consultation process to, as it were, consider whether or not the Chief Justice should be removed. Access the petitioner's view that the Chief Justice should be removed. Mm-hmm. Now, having made that announcement, 2 days passed, we now hear that Member of Parliament for Old Tafo has now filed a suit at the Supreme Court challenging the process for the removal of the Chief Justice. Now, this comes on the back of the development on Tuesday, because the president now having forwarded these petitions to the Council of State, it means that together they are going to consider whether or not there's a prima facie case to be established, and then they'll set up a committee to go into the merit. That in itself is bringing up a lot of controversy, because now we are seeing that in the writ of summons that has been filed and on behalf of Vincent Asifwa, they are questioning whether or not the procedure that has been adopted is one that should be allowed to be adopted. Is the view of the plaintiff in that matter that it is unconstitutional for the president to proceed on the route that he is on. That is to say that he ought to have notified the Chief Justice in question and also received her comments as part of the consultation process that he's on with the Council of State. That is the crux of that particular suit before the Supreme Court, or that has been filed today by the Old Tafo MP. However, we have moved past that stage where the conversation has now developed to how did that MP get to know that as part of the consultation process, the Chief Justice was not notified about the pendency of the petitions and that her response or her comments were not requested. But we'll find that answer later, because just this evening we got another statement or a letter that was addressed to the Council of State, to the President, and then the former Chief Justice, who is a member of the Council of State, and the Council of State itself, requesting to be given a copy of the said petitions. This letter I'm talking about is from her ladyship, the Chief Justice, who herself has written to these persons that I've mentioned, the officers that I've mentioned. That's the President himself, the Chairman of the Council of States, and the former Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Duajehu. Also in copy is the Honorable Honorable Justice Sophia Kufu, member of the Council of State and former Justice of the Supreme Court, and then the Council of State itself, requesting that she be given a copy of these petitions. Now she makes the argument that it is part of our laws that anytime such petitions are presented to the President and they are forwarded, the process is that the person affected should be notified and the comments of the person received to form the basis for whether or not a prima facie case should be made against the person. She's of the view that she only got to hear of this on Tuesday when the presidency issued a statement.
Right.
It's been 2 days, from Tuesday to Thursday, that she still not got a copy of the petitions for her to also make her input. She argues, based on law, based on the same provisions that we are looking at, Article 146, that the procedure is that she ought to be given. She goes on to cite instances where petitions were made against some superior court justices, in which she was the one to determine the prima facie case element of it. She made the petitions available to affected persons and requested their comments, and that, she says, formed the basis for whatever decision she made as to whether prima facie case was established or otherwise. Now she's simply requesting that she be given the copies and also be given 7 days to offer her response and then proceed from there. Just when that was about settling, then came another suit, which was in the name of another private citizen, Ebenezer. Let me get that name right. So one Ebenezer, and his arguments substantially are the same as that of Vincent Asafua, except to say that his reliefs far exceed what Vincent is asking for. Because when you look at what Vincent is asking for by way of reliefs, it only talks about the Supreme Court making declarations that the move that the President is making is unconstitutional, is an infringement on the rights of the Chief Justice, and that any other orders that the court would deem fit. However, with this new plaintiff, Ebenezer, he goes beyond that to suggest that, or to even ask the court to restrain the President from proceeding on the route that he's proceeding on.
I see.
He also wants the court to, in fact, also withdraw the petitions.
To withdraw the petition?
Yes.
But can the President do that? Or
well,
can the court compel the President to do that?
That's what, he's put it before the court. That will be for the court to answer that question.
Right.
But to make the case that this, even though it's the same in substance, when you look at the scope of it, this goes far beyond what Vincent is asking by way of the court making declarations in respect of the constitutionality or otherwise of the President's move, and also to the effect that it's an infringement on the rights of the Chief Justice. This person says that let's move beyond that, even make an order, a restraining order, injunct the President from proceeding on the route that he wants to. Again, also make an order withdrawing these petitions that are even before the Council of State, because his view is that the procedure is also wrong, because the Chief Justice has not been notified of the petitions, her inputs have not been made into it, and that it is unconstitutional.
I see, but then let's establish this. The President received the petition. The only time we got to know about these 3 petitions was on Tuesday when Felix Kwachofosu issued that statement, correct?
Yes.
Now, does the law in Article 146 specifically state when the Chief Justice should be notified of the details of the said petition?
Unfortunately, you would not find timelines in the provisions of Article 146, except it prescribes that certain things should be done, which is in this case the consultation between the President and the Council of States. And then in furtherance to that, then there's the establishment of the committee. We are not told in express terms what the timelines would be, i.e. that maybe the President, when he received the petition on this day, within 7 days or 8 days or this number of days, this should be done. No, that is not provided in there. And that has not even come up for any debate as yet. But I get the point you're making, that the President and the Council of State are still in the process of the consultation. So it's only it's possible that they were still considering giving an opportunity for the Chief Justice to make an input. That is the side of it. But what we are having to deal with now is how should they proceed with it? Should they immediately have given her the opportunity to make an input, or they can wait for as long as they want and give her an opportunity later? The plaintiffs in these matters, the 2 suits, are saying that no, you have to, because for them 2 days have passed. She has not even been notified about the petition. Talk less of getting her comment. They feel that there's a threatened breach for which they want to protect.
And hold on a bit, Dennis, for me, because stay with me. Let's bring in Christian Mamhes. He's a private legal practitioner, a constitutional law expert. Is joining us right now. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us. I mean, listening to the details of the case as Dennis has just put out, how does all of this strike you, especially because of what Article 146 specifically states about how this process will play out, and the demand by the Chief Justice now that, look, let me know the details of the petition against me, even though the consultation process by the Council of State is ongoing?
Yes, thank you for having me. Good evening. You remember yesterday I began a certain submission, a legal submission with you, pointing out certain gray areas. Now, considering this, you see, the Constitution is a living document, and it is strike law for any student of constitutional law that this statement is not just a statement of act, but it is an embodiment of constitutional law. And there have been several authorities espoused in the corridors of law to establish this. Now, not to bore listeners with legalese, I will just make my submissions clear and more understanding. If you look at, if we mean that the Constitution is a living organism, it basically means that we look at the Constitution wholly. So Article 146 will not be read in isolation. Article 146 would be read together with Article 19, which talks about fair trial. Now, and when you talk about fair trial, in conjunction with Article 146, a petition has been brought to the presidency. Now, the presidency is conveying that to the Council of State. So, literally speaking, the Council of State will then form a committee to deal with it. So then there will be trial of the accused person, whoever is being accused of. And that person would only be seized with matters as of then. But again, when you go to Article 19, anybody who accuses another, that another must get the opportunity to respond. Because if she does not have the opportunity to even see the petitions against her, but the petitions are then forwarded to the Council of State. Now, between the presidency and the Council of State, are they now going to determine the prima facie case? a question mark. She must have the opportunity to respond under the Alden Partem rule, natural justice. She must be heard. She must see the petition for herself. She must respond. And then further procedures would follow from there. And those institutions are also enjoined under Article 23 because it is acting as an administrative body. And the Constitution enjoins them to act fairly and justiciable. Just as Article 296, that such institutions should not wield power arbitrarily. So the Constitution is looked at as a living organism in order to reflect its test and contest to the times that we are in. It cannot be taken literally.
I see, but that's why I made reference to what 146 says, and then you bring in Article 19 as well. Then again, that references the principle of fair trial. Juxtapose these two provisions in the Constitution and the process specific to this particular instance of the removal of the Chief Justice. 146 does not clearly prescribe exactly when the Chief Justice should be notified during the consultation process. It appears that this is at the discretion of the Council of State as to when the Chief Justice should be notified during the consultation process, as enshrined in Article 146, is it not?
So yes, so that what you have just said is the literal interpretation of the Constitution. And that is what I'm telling you, that a student of constitutional law moves away from that, because even at law school, you are taught that the Constitution is a living organism. And several Supreme Court authorities have come to cement this principle. And Article 146 cannot be dealt with alone in the circumstances. The same thing when the Chief Justice receives petition for her to determine the prima facie case. She needs to draw to the accused superior court judge that this petition has been made against you. You have to respond. And she does that under Article 19. And also the discretion that she has, the discretionary power that she has under Article 296 of the 1992 Constitution also comes to bear, because that also indicates that that discretionary power must not be used uncandidly. It must be fair and candid. So that if in the process, or if in the conjunctive process, all these elements of constitutional powers have not been drawn properly to conclude the procedures thereof, then we will say that you have jettisoned from constitutional procedures, and that which you are seeking to do has become arbitrary and can be challenged in the court of law as having acted unconstitutionally.
I see.
We no longer define or interpret Constitution literally. We look at the Constitution as a living organism, as a living authority.
And that's where I bring in the point that Dennis was raising earlier, that is it the case that the CJ's demand of the details of the petition against her should be made known to her right now, 2 days after the public notification of these three petitions, or the process as enshrined must then be allowed to, as it were, play out, so that maybe in the coming days, the Council of State itself, as part of its consultation process as enshrined in law, would also consult the Chief Justice and make it known to her, not necessarily as a result of her demand?
You see, she is not making a demand out of fluke. She's making a demand as of right, as of her enshrined rights under the Constitution. If you read cases like Tufo and Attorney General, it deals with cases of the Constitution as a living organism. Because if someone has accused me petitioning against the presidency and having occupied that high office, I only get to know of such petitions from the grapevine or from media platforms. Yet the conveyor belt procedures continues. And when it gets to Council of State, they will move on to constitute a committee for the hearing of the matter. It is only fair for her to be consulted by way of running by her what the petition says. She gets to know the constituent ingredients or elements of the Constitution. She considers it whether by herself or together with her lawyers, and then they respond. Even in court, when you bring a procedure, the other party is given ample time under the rules of procedure for you to respond. Then thereafter, other processes kick in. So what I'm basically saying is that the Constitution is not interpreted literally. The literal interpretation of the Constitution has long been departed away with. And that in modern times, the Constitution, as in the case of Tufo and Attorney General and other many Supreme Court cases, the Constitution is interpreted as a living organism. And in that situation, Article 146 is considered with other conjunctive clauses in order to ensure that justice is done.
Well,
so that is my humble
right. Ma'am, hold on a bit for me, because we also have Martin Pebo, private legal practitioner, joining us as well. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, good evening.
It's good to have you. And just to recall a number of things that have happened today, the former Attorney General, immediate past Attorney General Godfrey Yabo Adame, filed a lawsuit on behalf of his client Vincent Assefuah, the MP for Otafo, against the Attorney General at the Supreme Court, essentially challenging the procedural legality of President Mahama's actions concerning the potential removal of the Chief Justice. His contention is that till as of this morning, the Chief Justice had not been notified of the details of the petitions against her, 3 of them. Now, the question at the time was how he got to know whether or not the Chief Justice had not been notified of the petition. And in fact, that question has been answered, because as we speak, the Chief Justice herself, Justice Gertrude Tukono, has requested copies of the petition submitted to President Mahama seeking her removal, confirming what Vincent Assefuah is actually seeking in his suit as well. The question now here is, at what point exactly is she supposed to be notified of the details of the petition? Lawyer Hesimao makes the legal point that to the extent that she has the right, at least per the natural justice, to know what exactly she's been accused of as enshrined in Article 19, 146 cannot be literally interpreted to mean that the period of notification of the Chief Justice of her petition should be at the discretion of the Council of State. I found out your thoughts about this.
Oh, you see, number one, to avoid this, generally the confusion that is emerging now. That's why in the Frankie Dichu case, Attorney General, right, and Bryce Akwiti, the Supreme Court strongly advocated for more rules, detailed rules to govern this process. And I see we are getting there. Now that this one is creating this problem, by the time Chief Justice Tokono's petitions are done with, the process will be set in place for detailed rules to be given to govern the procedure. Because what is in the Constitution is sketchy. That is what the Supreme Court itself has described the laws. 146 is small. If you look at it, on Saturday, I'll bring you the civil procedure we use at the High Court and Circuit Court. Big book. And this one, removal of Chief Justice, the same way. Let's take our time and come up with more detailed rules. So at this time, we are all giving opinions based on our understanding of the law. Now, this particular question that's arising, I don't necessarily think that the Chief Justice has to be given a copy in cases where the petition is terribly bad. So let's say a petition that is nameless. So somebody writes allegation pledge, but then doesn't write his name. Such a person, so you don't even know who is written this petition. Such a petition, the president, in consultation with the Council of State, can do the prima facie case where they say, listen, we received this petition, it has no name, no address for us to even trace the person. So straight away, I'm dismissing it. Of course, the president will give reasons, etc. And the Frankie J2 as Attorney General, just in case for those who want to read, is 2005, 2006 Supreme Court of Ghana law reports. Yeah, sometimes some people, even who are not lawyers, also want to take it early. So 2005-2006 Supreme Court of Ghana law reports. So that's the decision they court. So in that Frank J2 case, they said the provision for making a prima facie case is not stated in the Constitution for the Chief Justice. They've done that for only the other judges, High Court, Court of Appeal, and the rest of the Supreme Court judges. But for the Chief Justice, they didn't expressly state that when a petition is presented, there should be a prima facie case. So in the Frank J2 case, the Supreme Court looked at it and said, if the subordinates of the Chief Justice are entitled to get prima facie determination, then the Chief Justice too should get it. Now let's explain what is the effect and the importance of the prima facie determination. You can call it the winnowing stage, to winnow the petition, and like the way we winnow maize, so that stones and those things are removed. So if we winnow and we find out that the whole petition is stones or is weevils, then we throw it away because then there is no maize for us to use. So that is to say, if you winnow and there's nothing in it, it should not go to the second stage, which will be the establishment of the 5-member panel or tribunal that will go into the case. The one that will now ask the accuser to come. Yes, stand here, give evidence. You'll be cross-examined. Were you there? You and I were not there, like the election 2012 petition. I'm using an example that Ghanaians can readily remember. Of course, the difference is that when in this case it will be done in camera, so we will not get television, the media to broadcast it. But it's the same style. Yes, examination in chief, cross-examination, etc. Even though it's supposed to be an investigation, so far we've been doing it like the way court is done. So even Samson Ladi are advocating that no, we should change it and make it more inquisitorial, where the judge will rather be in charge and do proper typical investigations like the way CID people do. But we'll leave that conversation for another time. So let's continue. So the point we are making is that when it comes to the prima facie determination, sometimes the petition can be so bad that you don't even need the respondent. Well, in this case, let me limit it to the Chief Justice. So it can be so bad that sometimes you don't need the Chief Justice to respond before the president can deal with it. That is to say, the moment the president says or sees that this petition is very bad, maybe no signature, no name, or the handwriting is so terrible that you can't even, you go and bring all the people around, nobody can read what is being written. Those petitions that maybe the heading is clear enough, removal of Chief Justice, that one can be seen, but the rest of the petition is so bad that nobody can decipher. The president can throw it out without asking the Chief Justice to comment. And indeed, there are cases like that. When this thing happened, Georgina Wood, when she was Chief Justice, and petitions were brought for the removal of the Shrine Board, there were many, well, not many, I think about 3 or so, 4 petitions. She dismissed all except the one that Samson Ladi presented on behalf of Richard Nyama. So the other petitions, she found them not well crafted. she didn't find any proper basis, so she threw those petitions out without asking Lord Ramsey, then Shiraj Boss, to answer. So in the same manner, against Charlotte Osei, the petition that was brought against Charlotte Osei, I understand the media reporters showed that the petitions were not signed. Yeah, there were no names. No names. And yet it was said that Akufo-Addo allowed them to rectify it. One of those, I mean, the mixing, it's a question of public record. If you Google petition against Charlotte Osei, they detect either the name or signatures weren't given. So because of that, yes, Akufo-Addo called them to come and rectify. But another president looking at it can say that no, I don't agree. Once it is not signed or once there's no name, I'll throw it out. You see? And also, like, another petition can have insult, invective, vitriol, okay? It doesn't make sense. So such petitions, the president can consult the Council of State. And listen, I want to throw out this petition. We don't even need a Chief Justice to respond. So such things can happen. So what we are saying is that to the extent that, so what we should be watching is that, and what the president cannot do is that he cannot take the petitions and then, based on only the petitions, say that he has made a prima facie determination that Tokonu should go and answer. So let's repeat. The one that I think we are all trying to safeguard in this what doesn't happen is that the president cannot reading the petitions alone decide that, well, stage 2 should be activated. That is the 5-member panel, which will be made up of 2 Supreme Court judges and 3 lay people. So the majority of that panel will be lay people who are not lawyers, they are not ministers of state, they are not MPs. So that's the design. So that is, the 5-panel committee, or call it tribunal, that is the one that the president cannot go ahead and say, reading this petition, I think that there's something in it. So, Council of State, let's set up the committee, even without asking Justice Tokonu to bring her response. Of course, asking her to bring the response means that they would have sent it to her. So once the president is not doing that, as for not sending the petition at this stage, I don't think it's anything we should cry about. Of course, we should be vigilant. But so far, you cannot just conclude that because Justice Tokonu has not been informed of the petition, then it means that it's a violation. So,
is it probably a suspicion of a possible breach of rights?
Yes. So if you have a suspicion, maybe you can ask. You see now, Chief Justice Tokonu has written to the president for a copy. So if you had asked for it, and then he says, I won't give you, I just want to go ahead and do my determination. And of course, this cannot happen in Ghana. Ghana is changing. We are way ahead, but we are just doing for the analysis. So if, let's say, the president had written that I won't give you any copies, and without also stating that, the petitions are terribly bad, so I'm throwing them out, then that's the one you can run to court. That's as requested. I heard about it. I requested for the copy, and he said he won't give me, that he's going to do his prima facie determination alone. He will not ask me to comment. What he's going to do, remember, the point I've been advancing so far is that if the petition is bad, and so the president will not take a decision that will negatively affect the Chief Justice, he can go ahead and not ask the Chief Justice to comment, and he can come out with the decision once he consults the Council of State. But if the president sees that there is something in the petition, and he's likely to rule that we should go to stage 2, and the president must necessarily ask for the response of the Chief Justice.
Very good and important derivations and details that you bring to this. And Counsel, I do appreciate your analysis of this and the questions you're asking going forward. I thank you so much. And I know that in the coming days, a lot will play out. So there's be also a lot to talk about on this. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Martin Bebo is private legal practitioner. Joining us here on Hot Edition. A number of questions, Dennis, that he puts out there, which then brings up the further conversation of what the current legal architecture is and whether or not this provision should be a subject of amendment 146 going forward. Quick one.
Well, so this is a good exercise. We just hope that it progresses so that you add to our jurisprudence, because once upon a time it was not very clear how the process was going to be like in respect of Article 1466, where it has to do with the removal of the Chief Justice. Because mind you, when it's with respect of the removal of the justices of the other of the superior courts, the process is clear. Refer to the Chief Justice to determine a prima facie case. The question was whether when it involved the CJ herself or himself, what should be the process? At least with the case of Frank J. Chum, we are now aware that the president would have to do the finding of the prima facie case together with the Council of State. Mm-hmm. That is the hurdle that has been crossed. Now, as to what should go into that process is what is being put on the table for the Supreme Court to decide. If they find merit in this and they want to proceed on it, I'm sure at the end of the day, the procedure will be quite clear and we'll get to know whether it is indeed a requirement that the person who is on the chopping board should be notified and also be given that opportunity to respond. But of course, these plaintiffs say that in the interest of justice, this article should be read together with Article 23 and Article 296 so that they will have a fair trial and all those things. So yes, we look forward to how this is going to pan out.
Perfect. Dennis Wadam Esquire, appreciate you for coming through, as always.
Always a pleasure, Alfred.
Thank you so much. There's going to be more of this on Ghana Tonight at 10 p.m. And Dennis is going to be with me in studio as we do some analysis of this particular development and more here on Ghana Tonight as well at 10 p.m. But we're going to go straight into a breaking news that's coming through right now. And this borders on security. This is some breaking news coming through right now here on Hot Edition.
Breaking news on 3FM 92.7.
Well, we're just getting some information regarding a national security exercise on some illicit drugs trade in this country. And my colleague and our correspondent, Stanley, is joining us right now. And we're getting information, Stanley, that the National Intelligence Bureau has intercepted some kilograms of cocaine from the central region. You have more details on this? What's happening?
Yes, so just the news came in about a couple of minutes ago, which TV3 and 3FM, we happened to be invited to the headquarters of the National Intelligence Bureau, that's NIB headquarters, where these parcels of cocaines have been confiscated and stored. So everything happened on 4th of this month, where upon intelligence, the officials or security services agents from the NIB were prompted to intercept a tipper truck carrying 143 sacks containing these cocaines, and the cocaines are in their raw form. So what the transporters did was that when they loaded the cocaines into the tipper trucks, then they covered the cocaines or the parcels with sand,
right,
to outwit security officials on the road. But upon security intelligence that was made available, or intel that was made available to NIB officials, they were able to stop the tipper truck, and then when they offload the sand, then they uncovered 143 sacks of cocaine loaded in the truck. So they then have to apprehend the driver and the mate. So they then took them back to Cape Coast, where this tipper truck was coming from. So when it happens like that, when they went to the house that they stored the cocaine from, they also uncovered a lot of cocaine parcels that have been wrapped and then stored at that place as well. And so they have to bring everything. So when they brought everything from on the 4th of this month, they then had to subject, because the news didn't come out early, because when you look at the time it was intercepted and now it's been about 3 weeks interval. And so for the reasons the National Intelligence Bureau authorities cited was that they wanted the officials, they wanted to conduct investigation to ensure that what they have actually intercepted was actually cocaine and not any other substance. So they then had to rope in the National Narcotic Control Commission, that NACOC, to conduct some laboratory tests on all the slabs that were actually confiscated. And the results that came out from the test proved positive, which suggests to me that all the consignments that was intercepted came out positive, which means that this cocaine, and then when they quantify everything, the street value that they added or they ascribed to this quantum of cocaine that has been confiscated was pegged at $350 million, and which suggests to me that this cocaine, they are in their raw forms. They are now going to process it further to get the actual cocaine. And Alfred, I must also tell you that this cocaine is not originating from Ghana.
I see. Where's the origin, state of origin?
So it was transshipments that took place at sea. And so they brought in from outside, but they used our marine space to transport the goods into the country. And then they gave it to a fisherman. That was a fishing vessel that fronted the whole thing, that brought everything from onshore to offshore. So when they came, then they have to bring in the tipper truck and the driver to offload all the consignment to Accra, so that when they get to Accra, they will then distribute it to their members or the agents that are supposed to, that have been detailed to receive the consignment. And so that actually happened. So when you look at it in kilogram wise, or when you equate it to a bag of cement, which means you are going to get about 60 bags of cement from the cocaine that have been confiscated so far.
60 bags.
60 bags of cocaine.
That's the, in terms of the quantity.
The quantity, yes.
Of the cocaine that has been intercepted as we speak.
Yes.
So this is the 3,319 kilograms of cocaine.
Sure.
And this was intercepted at in the central region,
in the central region,
en route to Accra.
Accra, yeah.
I see. And so this is information we have. Stanley Nibleo, as my colleague, has been really working closely with the National Intelligence Bureau on this matter. And the information we're getting right now is that, as confirmed, that the details given by Stanley in studio, the National Intelligence Bureau has intercepted 3,319 kilograms of cocaine from the central region en route to Accra. The consignment tested positive after the Narcotics Control Commission subjected the substances to laboratory tests. If you go on our Facebook page right now at 3FM927, we're showing you videos of these intercepted packets of cocaine, 3,319 kilograms. Go on our Facebook page at 3FM927. We're showing you live videos of this interception right now. The cocaine, we understand, in its raw form, was loaded in a tipper truck. Stanley giving us the details right there. And Richard Commodore is a former operative of the National Intelligence Bureau, formerly BNI, is joining us on the telephone. Mr. Commodore, I want to find out what you make of this latest interception, especially coming on the back of the Narcotics Control Commission's own bust of one of the big drug dealers in this country, somewhere in Oyarifa, last week.
For some time now, if you follow for a few years now, Ghana has become not just an origin of narcotic drugs and many of the crimes you would think of, but we have also become a transit point and a destination point. And so in terms of country risks, our risk levels are very high. And so some people took a decision, which I was aware of, somewhere on the 20th of January 2025, that they will go very hard on surveillance and they will go very hard using high-level assets and informants in order to deal with narcotic drugs in particular and many of the nefarious activities passing through the borders of Ghana. I am aware there has been some seizures and searches at Kotoka International Airport Terminal 3 in particular. So at the backdrop of that, I am not surprised at all what the NACOP guys did last week and what we are hearing today. We just have to work as hard as any other country in order to clean our streets so that our country rate will come down. So I'm happy for them, and we say kudos to them.
Well, but the details Stanley is giving us, this was an operation that was conducted on the 4th of this month, and it was actually onshore. And we understand that the whole transmission of the consignment was through a fishing vessel somewhere in the central region. Now, what does this bring to mind, especially because the focus, as you indicated, there's been a lot of interception at the Kotoka International Airport, but this transaction, we understand, took place at sea.
For some time now, from Adan, or let's even say, particularly from Adan right down to Elubo, you will see some fishing trolley activities which carry high drugs, not just weed, but cocaine, and many of the other ones you wouldn't want to mention on air. I'm aware some helicopter surveillance have gone on around many of our seashores, and I'm also aware frontiers of communities has been recruited and trained so that when you see something, you say something. I'm very sure that it was one of those outcomes that led to this particular arrest and surveillance. What they would need to do is to liaise a little bit more with the Navy, and that also means that they need to be equipped and they need to be empowered in terms of offshore surveillance purposes. If we put in a lot of resources, we will get the results. If we put in resources in training our people and providing the tools they needed, then these are some of the results you get. But after there's one thing getting the results of seizure and another thing dealing with the culprit and dealing with them precisely in a manner that would deter other people from getting involved. We have a practice in this country where people get involved in drugs and money laundering and many of those ones, and yet we are incapable of seizing properties that has been accrued out of these, and we call it a proceeds out of crime. Until we are able to deal precisely with proceeds out of crime and put people where they belong when they are capable of doing some of these things, it's going to be the cycle where you make a seizure and they change the methodology and you keep on running, and they will always be one step ahead of you. So if your reporter is saying it's on the sea, it's not just the entry points, but today, right from Adan to Elubo has become entry points for some of these narcotic drugs, not just weed, but cocaine and many of those ones.
I appreciate you for this, as always.
Thank you.
Richard Commodore is a former operative of the National Intelligence Bureau right there. And Stanley, we understand there's been some arrests?
Yes, so far 2 people connected to this drug cartel, drug issue have been actually remanded into police custody. They've been taken to court, arraigned before courts, and then currently they've been remanded. I must also tell you that the owner of the vessel that actually brought this cocaine, parcels of cocaine from the sea to the land port, actually is at large, and there are, security details, tasked to go and then look for any other person connected with this drug trafficking.
See, Stanley Nibley, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much. There's more news on 3news.com on this matter, but the government has intensified efforts to recover the over 1,300 missing containers belonging to the ECG. According to the Energy Minister, John Jinapor, 40 of these containers have so far been traced and confiscated while investigations are underway to locate the rest. He assured that all perpetrators will be held accountable, but cautioned against misinterpreting the move as a witch hunt. He spoke earlier this afternoon on TV3 News Central.
Quite damaging, very, very damaging. If you read the report, you get very, very worried. Over the years, ECG could do all this, and so far, we have already given some instructions. For instance, the decision to merge the procurement directorate with the estate unit. We've directed that should be reversed. We should have a standalone procurement directorate with qualified approved provisions. In 2024 alone, they procured more than 700% what had been approved to them by the board. More importantly, we've asked that they give us some periodic updates in terms of their essential goods and services that they procure. A lot of the containers that we found stuck at the port, the items, they did not need them immediately. Some containers arrived, they had items, they claimed that they couldn't clear the containers, but they were still awarding contracts for similar items. All top, and then we'll keep monitoring them. But the most important one has to do with the whereabouts of those containers.
Indeed.
The briefing I got this morning, and let me comment the National Security Operatives and the law enforcement agencies. The information I got this morning is that already they've traced about 40 of them to a particular terminal or warehouse in Pung, which belongs to an Indian man of extraction. And they've confiscated all the 40 copies, and they are moving them to a secured location. The man indicates that those containers were sold to him last year, and so that's a subject of a matter of investigation, and the law enforcement agencies would ensure that the law takes its course.
That's John Jinapor, is Energy Minister there. So live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale, and on W 93.5 in Y and beyond. Stay with us. We're back after this quick break with the latest in the world of business. Bismarck Awosa is standing by.
These are properties of the states.
I wake up early every weekday because of you, to keep you on top of your game. Yeah!
You are at the center of our universe. That's why we make it a duty to serve you only the freshest, hottest news and entertainment. When you want it, where you want it.
Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7 with me, Johnny Hughes, Helen Apiambofo. Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Age and tact triumph, or will youth and energy win? Call or WhatsApp on these numbers: 0532 300 927 or 0532 200 927. Now, to join Team Comfort or Team Helen and enjoy holistic wellness coaching, specialized diet plans, and cooking tutorials, thrilling exercises, challenges, and activities, plus many exciting rewards. 3FM Fit Start, sponsored by Daffy's Health and Beauty, Bill's Microfinance and UGL Premier, and supported by Blue Skies and the Ghana Medical Association. 3FM Fit Start, your health, your journey, your victory.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Awosa. Coming up tonight, Ghana Revenue Authority (GRA) to commence removal of e-levy and betting tax upon presidential approval. We'll hear from Acting Commissioner General Anthony Kwesi Sapon. Thanks for your company. Now to our very first story. The Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, says it will begin implementing the removal of electronic transfer levy, e-levy, and the betting tax as soon as it receives the necessary approval from the President. Acting Commissioner General of the GRA, Anthony Kwesi Sapon, stated that as an implementing agency, the authority will adhere to the directives of Parliament to eliminate the tax measures. He was speaking at the Temas Sector Command, where he introduced the new Commissioner of Customs, Brigadier General Glover Ashon Anan.
As a concern, we are implementing institution, and once the law has been passed, we are going to implement it. And for the benefit of Ghanaians, our president indicated he will do it, and through the minister, he's done it. So e-levy has been passed to be abolished. The betting tax has been passed to be abolished, and all the other taxes that were announced by the minister representing the president in parliament. So we are going to work to ensure that these taxes that the government has removed on Ghanaians, we immediately take them out of our compliance scheme so that Ghanaians can enjoy the income that the government has given to them in a form of abolishing these taxes.
And that was Acting Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, Anthony Kwesi Sapon. Moving on, Ghana's energy sector is poised for significant growth, with the We Power Authority, BPA, playing a crucial role in renewable energy development. The acting CEO, called Edukwa Sam, has stressed the importance of accelerating the construction of Ghana's first nuclear power plant to provide a reliable base load for domestic and industrial use. Notably, BPA is also involved in Ghana's nuclear power program. We Power Authority is already making strides in renewable energy, operating 404 megawatts of hydropower primarily for peaking. The authority is also undertaking various solar PV projects with 60 megawatts currently online and an expected additional 150 megawatts in the next year.
We are supposed to be the leaders in solar PV or renewable in Ghana, and we can't do it without dispatchable power. Currently, we have about 30% of hydro and 60% thermal. Although thermal is dispatchable, the source of thermal, which is gas, is not reliable. So we need a very reliable source of dispatchable power, which comes in the form of nuclear power. So I want to entreat all stakeholders to attach importance to our development of nuclear power. Without that, we power, who are mainly into variable renewables, cannot even survive on the grid. Let's get committed to the nuclear agenda.
And that was acting CEO of We Power Authority, called Edukwa Sam. Now, the World Bank has urged the government to enhance the ease of doing business to boost private sector participation in the economy. This call follows findings from the World Bank's Business Ready report on Ghana, which highlighted several challenges faced by businesses.
According to the report, it takes more than 50 days to register a business in the country, while power supply remains a major concern, with 68% of businesses relying on generators. The report also revealed that it takes 900 days to resolve a commercial dispute through court litigation in Ghana. In Cote d'Ivoire, it takes 225 days. Speaking at the launch of the report, the World Bank's country director for Ghana acknowledged the progress Ghana has made, but emphasized the need to address existing bottlenecks to further improve the business climate.
These are some of the areas to focus on. Tax compliance, and I know some of the colleagues will talk about tax compliance costs when the private sector panel comes on. We've heard a lot about that from our colleagues in the private sector. Digital infrastructure. Nearly 48% of Ghanaian firms report monthly internet disruptions, which of course holds back productivity and competitiveness. Trade logistics. Import clearance averages, it takes 14 days on average to clear imports.
Meanwhile, government says it remains committed to enhancing the ease of doing business in the country.
As a country, I would not say that we are doing badly, but there is more room for improvement, because if we compare with our peers, it is obvious that we need to up our game. I'm excited at what is going on currently, and as Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, my responsibility is to help create the enabling environment for businesses to thrive, because I'm looking for FDI, I'm looking for exports, and all these will happen when we create the enabling environment.
And that was a report on the World Bank urging Ghana to address bottlenecks to ease of doing business in Ghana. And that will be all for the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Thanks for your company.
Accra, Ghana, Africa, and worldwide. Join us on Inspirational Gospel Mix this and every Sunday, 8 p.m. 3FM.
King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
What is your favorite scripture?
Well, my favorite scripture is Romans 8:28, and it says, all things work together for the good to them that love the Lord. Kwame, that is absolutely my favorite scripture.
Yes, your Inspirational Gospel Mix, a moment to get inspired with the best of inspirational songs and interviews to get you prepared for the new week. Every Sunday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. with me, your big brother, Kwame Adu, mixing G, mixing gospel. You can't miss it. You are blessed as you listen. 3FM 92.7.
I wake up early every weekday because of you, to keep you on top of your game. Yeah!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We do start off from a very interesting story because it has to do with a former Ghana international. While many retired footballers transition into coaching, punditry, or administration, former Black Stars midfielder Rabiu Mohammed has chosen a different path, that's agriculture. The 35-year-old, known for his tenacity in midfield, retired from football in 2020 after suffering a serious knee injury and now dedicates his time to cocoa farming. My colleague Emmanuel Owusu tells his story.
Since the 19th century, cocoa has been one of the most important crops in Ghana. Farmers produce tons of cocoa each year, making Ghana the second largest exporter of the product in the world. For those involved in cocoa production, it is a rewarding business venture. But for former Ghana midfielder Rabiu Mohammed, it is family heritage. His great-grandfather was a popular cocoa farmer in Konongo in the 20th century and passed his knowledge down the family tree. In his youth, Mohammed joined his parents at the farm and played football in his free time. As the days passed, the combative midfielder focused heavily on football.
Every Saturday, I was going to the farm on Saturdays before playing football, so I had the passion for it.
Rabiu enjoyed a professional football career spanning over 12 years, during which he played for 9 clubs. His crowning achievement came in 2009 when he helped the Ghana Under-20 team, the Black Satellites, secure a historic FIFA Under-20 World Cup victory, the first by an African nation. He went on to earn over 30 caps for the senior national team, representing Ghana at the Africa Cup of Nations and the FIFA World Cup. Unfortunately, his career was abruptly cut short in 2020 due to an ACL injury that forced him into early retirement. Unlike his illustrious teammates such as Michael Essien, Steve Napier, and Asamoah Gyan, who transitioned into coaching, administration, or punditry, a 35-year-old returned to the family business. He devotes his time to his farm located in Krofa, near the Konongo Odumasi Road.
A lot of stress in the idea.
I felt that if football will give me a lot of stress, the farmland will be a place where I can find some peace. My age mates were surprised that I chose farming after football.
Joseph Doe, Rabiu's elder brother, has been instrumental in encouraging Rabiu's foray into farming and has diligently managed the crops during his absence. Doe expressed his immense pride and delight at witnessing the remarkable growth and expansion of their farm.
People were watching us when we started. They wanted to know how it was going, so I'm happy that we are achieving what we wanted to achieve.
Rabiu is not only nurturing his passion for cocoa farming, but also giving back to his community in meaningful ways. He leads a dedicated team working tirelessly to raise funds for building a football pitch in Konongo Odumasi, a place where his love for the sport first blossomed. The community is filled with excitement as they witness Rabiu's new endeavors, and they eagerly anticipate the positive impact this project will have once completed.
Someone else would have ignored his parents' advice and teachings, but Rabiu realized that farming is helping him and his community. It's helping the constituencies in Asante Achim.
At least it will help Ghana also, because food and stuff, we have to import a lot of food into the country. But if we started farming a little bit to help, definitely food will be available in the country.
In a few years to come, Rabiu Mohammed hopes to become one of the leading farmers in Ghana as he competes for national awards. His post-football journey reflects a unique and inspiring transition from the pitch to agriculture, demonstrating his resilience and commitment to building a new legacy beyond the game.
Well, a beautiful story put together by my colleague Emmanuel Owusu. Let's turn our attention to Parliament, where the 2025 budget has been approved for Sports and Recreation Ministry. A sum of 65 million Ghana cedis has been allocated to the ministry for the year 2025 to run its operations, according to First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Bernard Ahiafo.
The question is, as many as are in favor of the motion numbered 12 on today's order paper, page 4, say aye. Those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted, and this House accordingly approves the sum of 65,899,456 Ghana cedis for the services of the Ministry of Sports and Recreation for the year ending 31st December 2025.
And so that was Bernard Ahiafo, who is the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, there stating the figure for sports and recreation for the rest of the year. La Liga is back in action later tonight after a 2-week break, and FC Barcelona is set to host Osasuna on Thursday in a rescheduled match that was postponed due to the passing of Barcelona's medical doctor Carlos Minari Garcia. Despite facing challenges with key players away on international duty, Barcelona's head coach Hansi Flick is confident that his team is ready for the task ahead.
At the end of the season, I think every week or every match is it's a big thing. So I think you cannot win the Copa, you cannot win the Champions League, but you can lose it, and this is what we don't want to do. So we are focused on these matches also. It doesn't matter if we have only 3 days between the next match. It's like that, and we have to accept it. And I think the teams are really fit, and and I think we have to be ready for this big task. But I'm looking very positive about this.
Well, to our final story before we go, it takes us to England, where Arsenal goalkeeper David Raya expressed optimism about the team's prospects starting with the Champions League, which returns in a couple of weeks. Now, the Spanish goalkeeper says that the Gunners are headed in the right direction to accomplish their goals. Speaking to Sky Sports, the goalkeeper emphasized his conviction that the Gunners are on trajectory to ensure that they secure silverware.
It's a great club, and the team is incredible. I think we are going in the right direction to achieve things together. It's just a matter of time on when it will happen. You know, everybody wants to win the Champions League, and everybody knows how hard it is. But we are very, very excited. Now we have a big challenge ahead, playing against Real Madrid. But those type of games, that's the ones that you really wanted to play when you were young. So that's the types of games everybody wants to play. So very, very excited to see where that goes.
Well, that was David Raya. They're bringing an end to the sports segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. For more sports stories, you can check our social media pages at 3SportsGH, or you can also check out our website 3news/sports. My name is Oreku Ampofo.
In a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Will age and tact act triumph? Or will youth and energy win? Call or WhatsApp on these numbers: 0532 300 927 or 0532 200 927. Now, to join Team Comfort or Team Helen and enjoy holistic wellness coaching, specialized diet plans, and cooking tutorials, thrilling exercises, challenges, and activities, plus many exciting rewards. 3FM Fit Start, sponsored by Daffy's Health and Beauty, Bill's Microfinance and UGEL Premier, and supported by Blue Skies and the Ghana Medical Association. 3FM Fit Start, your health, your journey, your victory.
Welcome back. It's live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale, on WNS 3.5 in Y and beyond. Now, government has intensified, as we're learning now, efforts to recover the over 1,300 missing containers belonging to the Electricity Company of Ghana. We keep an eye on that and how things are playing out in that regard. But the chiefs and people of the Befi traditional area in the Kwando municipality have been left agitated following the release of nominees for the position of the municipal district chief executive for the Volta region. Now, though the nomination for Kwando is still pending, the chiefs at a press conference this morning indicate there is an attempt by some unknown persons to thwart what they describe as fair and principled representation. This is what the chiefs have been saying.
In a letter from the General Secretary of NDC, dated January 2, 2025, it was explicitly stated the criteria for appointments must include the need to keep in mind where the MPs come from within the constituency to ensure balance. Based on this principle, we, the chiefs, elders, and people of Befi and Soviet firmly believed that it is now Befi's turn to be considered for the MCE position within Kpandos and Soviet, who have already had their fair share of representation. And currently, the city MP, that is the Member of Parliament for Kpando, Honorable Sebastien Dare, is from Kpando Jogbeshanti. It is only fair and just that Befi is now given the opportunity to serve in the role of MCA.
Away from that, the Minister of the Interior, Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, intends to appeal to Cabinet for a dedicated fund for the Ghana National Fire Service. He says the newest fire tenders the service were procured in 2014. Now, this means the equipments are obsolete. He spoke to journalists after he visited the victims of the Doom fire outbreak in the Ashanti region earlier today.
When I went to the Ministry of Interior, I realized that the newest tender that we have was procured in 2014. That's more than 10 years. You and I know the way they run. In about 6-7 years, they become obsolete. Yet, the newest tender we have is more than 10 years old. Why? For the whole 10 years, as a country, we have not bought even a single fire tender. So sometimes we all blame the fire officer for nothing. Because they are using obsolete equipment. So sometimes the frustration, they go through so much frustration themselves. So one of the things that I think, if we can do even 5 pesos on a liter, what it means is that we'll have a dedicated fund to support fire. And another thing, very, very important, I know police are doing so well, the military, everybody is doing so well. But when it comes to the fire officers, insurance on their life, not only even on their life, on injuries. Because currently I've come to meet a situation in the ministry where when they get injured on the line of duty, they have to treat themselves and then send the bill before we pay. I mean, so if the person is struggling, cannot do that means you are just killing that person. So we need to change all this so that we can boost the morale of the fire officers, make sure that our markets are manned 24 hours, make sure that we have a dedicated fund to be able to be changing this equipment. When we do that, I'm sure it's going to help make this. But as we came today, we know people have lost their wear, people may not even have what to eat. So we came with 1,500 bags of rice, about 800 cartons of oil, and then about 1,000 cartons of soap that will give it to the association. And then they will just share it. We know it will not last long. And we're also teaching the city authority, they are led by the regional minister, to ensure that the opposite end, which is haphazard, let's create the access so that we don't wait for another fire to come and then we pretend like ostriches where we know how to solve the problem. We are not willing to solve the problem, but we'll come to sympathize with people. No.
Meanwhile, the victims of the Adum PZ market fire in Kumasi have requested for assistance to rebuild their businesses. The fire, which broke out on March 21, destroyed numerous shops, leaving traders devastated and in need of financial and infrastructural support. The victims demanded immediate government intervention to rebuild the market, stressing that without their shops and businesses, food relief is meaningless. Bring you details of that. But while we are at it, also, we go straight into the matters of education, because earlier today, the Ministry of Education indicated they will convert some schools in the rural areas into boarding houses. This, according to the ministry, is to reverse the double track system where some 150,000 students have been affected. Sector Minister Haruna Idrisu was addressing the media when he inaugurated a committee to consider the reversal of the double track system. The double track system was rolled out in 2018 to address increase in enrollment into some senior high schools, but the problem of increase in student population continued to affect the implementation of the free senior high school policy. The minister also spoke about securing funds to complete STEM and E-block schools to accommodate students, while directing the committee to consider the cost of implementing the free senior high school in private schools.
Yes, free senior high school, one of the boldest reforms of our educational system, which has expanded access to free senior high school, is not without problems. And one of the problems is the quality of the free senior high school being offered. The double track system have affected learning hours and contact time and the amount of time students ordinarily will be in school. I mean, all of us sitting here, you've been to school before. When you do 2 months and you're asked to go home 1 week, 2 weeks, come back, another group go home, come back, it naturally will affect quality. So there should be no pretenses in Ghana or in the country that all is well with the free senior high school system. But the inauguration of this committee will not be enough. We will need to support you with infrastructure. That the ministry will do, and will take appropriate steps this year in our CAPEX budget. Many of the E-blocks that were being constructed will have to see to the completion of those E-blocks in order that we can expand access. And it is also true that the country was not adequately prepared at the time that we launched onto the free senior high school. We're not adequately prepared with infrastructure, but a good measure. But we need to take corrective steps. So for those of you who've been asking, why is the NDC or President Mahama saying he's reviewing free senior high school? Simple. The essence of the review is to improve quality within the expanded access regime of the free senior high school. You will recall that even part of the manifesto pledge was to extend the expansion realm to private free senior high school. Don't hesitate. Let us know what cost is involved. Government will take full responsibility for that cost. What we want is every qualified Ghanaian child who deserves free senior high school must have it and will have it. But he must have it in an environment that allows him to learn in comfort. It is not for students to spend more time with parents than their teachers. That is not how we model the educational provision system. That you come to school and then after a few months you go. Then what Ghana must also accept is that we are not alone. There's a West African senior certificate. So Director General, let me thank you for the leadership you've provided. I trust that you work diligently with the committee, and by 2027, we want Ghana to have a fully functional free senior high school that is adequately funded with supporting infrastructure, both lecture and accommodation. A few of the schools will convert them into boarding schools where necessary, particularly in the rural areas. That will require infrastructure support, but we'll do that in order that they are absorbed into it. I have every faith in your committee, and I trust that you do a dedicated, diligent job. We will support you with the resources that you need to succeed. But as I said, mere announcing the committee would not be enough, Professor Grant. You will come back because we still have to support you when you make recommendations that convert this rural school to a dormitory, add additional classroom block here, expand this. I've said it is regrettable that a few of the Get Farm projects dating back 2014-15 that were started, many of them stand uncompleted.
That's Haruna Idrisu, the education minister there. Ghana is reviewing its agricultural trade policies to boost regional trade and improve food security with the Food System Resilience Project. The assessment, part of the ECOWAS Agricultural Trade and Market Scorecard, aims to track compliance with regional trade regulations and eliminate barriers to seamless trade. Cristobal Sasses-Treve has more.
Ghana is assessing its agricultural trade policies to strengthen food security and boost intra-regional trade across the ECOWAS Agricultural Trade and Market Scorecard, EATMS. A national working group, including key ministries and private sector players, have been gathering data on trade costs, customs duties, border restrictions, and transport infrastructure. The study also reviewed compliance with the ECOWAS Common External Tariff and Electronic Customs Declarations. Project Coordinator for FSRP, Osayawusu Ajaman, stressed on the need for the youth to engage in agriculture.
If you always say you want to attract the youth into agriculture, the point is that it has to be simple because there are options. If the young man has 50,000 cedis, he can decide I'm going to buy Prajia or Uber. It will give me 500 cedis every week. If you ask him to go and cultivate onion or whatever it is, what are you telling the person? You should be able to also give him a fact sheet so that he can compare. And this is what to mean. That is why we can do this by technology. And that is why I want to introduce technology so that the young man can compare that I want to invest this money. It might not give me money immediately, maybe after 4 or 5 years. But this is something that we think that we should be able to do to attract the youth.
The Chief Technical Advisor at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Kwesi Itubond, stressed the importance of trade, transparency and market integration.
Government continues to support ECOWAS regional integration effort through our commitment to ratification, harmonization of several trade policies and initiatives such as the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, ECOWAS Agriculture Policy, and the establishment of Africa Continental Free Trade in Ghana.
Yes, more of this on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. Thank you very much for staying with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Join me at 10 p.m. on TV3 for Ghana Tonight. On behalf of the rest of the team here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, have a great evening. The drive continues with DJ Faculty and Miriam Osei Ajuman. Stay tuned.
Things like this on women.